There is huge differences between the regions, the 5 regions I just mentioned, and even within the regions there's big differences, right? Just the fact that Indonesia and Singapore are neighboring countries doesn't mean that they look the same from a CRM perspective in how organizations have adopted it or not adopted it in some cases. However, you do see a convergence happening. You do see that, countries that maybe 5 years ago were not active at all about, managing customer relationships and improving them, I'm starting to realize, because sometimes by competitive pressure, sometimes just because it's in vogue, that maybe they should be doing something in this area as well. It's interesting, if you combine it with your previous question, right, and you look at the different regions, mature typically means, okay, they've adopted CRM, they've been doing it for 10, 15 years, etc., right? The types of organizations that did it first were typically the larger B2C organizations, right? Your banks, your telecommunications companies, etc. And then after those, companies started doing it, like the smaller and less companies that maybe had less competitive pressures or whatever followed these leaders, if you will, around CRM. What you see now, pushed really by 2 reasons, I think, is that a lot more mid-sized and smaller companies are adopting CRM as well. Push and pull. I think it's 2 things. One is the opportunity for them to adopt CRM because it's no longer required that you spend, potentially millions of dollars on systems and stuff from us. You can actually rent the same sophisticated software rather than buy it up front and install it yourself. You can rent this stuff, right? You can rent it by month, make it an operational item, and all of a sudden, you're in the same sort of game as those large guys. That's one. And secondly, I think a lot of smaller organizations see the focus on the customer as a key competitive advantage versus the big guys that may have dropped the ball in their market, in their territory. So in order to gain quick market share, really focus on, okay, what can we do to improve that customer experience and gain an edge there. Combine those two and you can see that sort of, technology is becoming, it's always been a facilitator, but it's been more of a level playing field these days. I mean, 20 years ago, you couldn't have sophisticated applications in an organization if it wasn't, at least a couple of thousand employees, because simply the overhead of doing that was not bearable, wasn't justifiable from a business perspective, right? Whereas these days, you can have a very sophisticated CRM system with extremely sophisticated capabilities and rent that for a couple of $1,000s a month. And most organizations of, a certain size can actually afford that and can make the case to their management that they should really be doing this. If they're, let's say, a BMW or something, they compete on product and, having a superior product and engineer a product that everybody wants just because of the product. And it doesn't mean, no matter what the price premium is, this car is going to be more expensive, but people want it because it's fantastically engineered. So that's product. Not a lot of organizations can do it because it requires a lot of investment, right? It requires a lot of capital. The second way of doing it is, and you see that happened a lot in China sort of the last 20 years, and it's kind of even going away there, is like, okay, we're going to be the cost leader, right? We are so efficient, we have so much volume, we're going to be able to produce this service or this product at a cost point that simply makes us the 800-pound gorilla in the room. A lot of organizations cannot go one of those 2 ways for a variety of reasons, and kind of see themselves that their ability to differentiate it from their competitors is really in that customer space, focusing on the customer experience and improving that. And therefore, they go after that. One, because it's their strategic imperative. They can't follow the other 2 strategic rejections and they go that way. And then when they go out to market, then they go and investigate, like, what does it take to start a loyalty program or to provide mobile applications to our customers or to do really sophisticated marketing, do stuff in social. They find that it actually doesn't require any more, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. It's, the ticket is much lower, and therefore their ability to leverage these tools is much easier. The short version is that traditionally, the last sort of 10, 15 years, really, CRM was deployed from a what's in it for the company perspective, right? We're getting a lot of calls from our customers. We need to organize ourselves with a call center that has an IVR and an ACD and can direct people to maybe, a robot or a voice that is not a person because it's going to cost us a lot of money to handle those calls. we are a bank and we're going to create ATMs because it's a lot cheaper than the tellers. And so forth and so forth. So a lot of the technology, we are a large sales team and we need an application to manage that sales team, to manage the pipeline, the forecast, etc. So CRM traditionally was really about efficiency inside the organization. Yes, there was some sort of, collateral benefits of that for end customers, but by and large, I didn't see much of that. When you look at social CRM, or what we call customer experience, it's much more saying, okay, that is necessary because you need to be organized internally in your organization, because the moment that you're going to expose your organization externally through social applications, through online commerce, etc., and you're not organized internally, you're going to under deliver, right? You're not going to hit expectations. But social CRM, for me at least, is really about focusing much more on the external side and what's in it for the customer, for what you can do as an organization to improve how you handle them, right? When I talk about customer experience and social CRM, for me, they are interchangeable. Because customer experience has a lot of social aspects, because social just is, additional channels to market, both inside out as outside in. When you look at those areas, a lot of our customers have added capabilities around e-commerce, around knowledge management, around mobile, around social marketing, around collaboration in the last couple of years, and have looked increasingly to us to help them sort of bring that together in an integrated customer strategy with the underpinning technology, of course. So, is it different? Yes and no. I mean, CRM and social CRM and customer experience all have to do with delivering on the customer expectation. However, if you want to juxtapose them, I would say that CRM is more about the internals of an organization, and customer experience and social CRM is more about the external. I'll give you one more cut of that same story, because it all depends on who you talk to, right? One other element of social CRM versus CRM is this idea that as customers have adopted applications in their personal life, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all that stuff, they've kind of come to expect more from the organization in terms of the quality of the apps that the organization delivers to them to do their job. And organizations have been looking to actually leverage that paradigm of social, which is, very limited data input, no training required, super simple to use, intuitive, taps into the knowledge of the masses, etc., and apply those concepts to applications that you use internally. So, for example, right, rather than I'm a sales rep, I get a CRM application, and okay, I need to maintain my pipeline and enter a lot of data. What if that CRM application can actually leverage the data and the knowledge that we know from all the other reps covering like accounts, and help our sales rep understand what products they can sell and what accounts that are actually in their patch, right? So sort of, again, collecting the wisdom of the masses, if you will, and bring it to bear in a very simple graphical way. That's one example. Collaboration, right? The whole idea that, when you're on LinkedIn, you follow, or when you're on Facebook, you follow somebody. When you're on LinkedIn, you link to somebody, and at that moment, you can kind of tap into each other's connections or whatever. Why would you not do that inside the enterprise, right? And those same constructs. So we've done that with a thing called Oracle Social Network, which is both embedded in our CRM and HCM applications, as well as separate on mobile devices like iPads and iPhones and whatnot. One of the things that we have in our kit bag of tools is this ability to plug a shop into Facebook, right? And I'll get to what you're actually saying. And this shop actually talks to the Facebook API. And unless you have ticked the privacy box in Facebook, if you're one of 700 million people, you haven't, then this API will give us your age, will give us, your sex, what products you're interested in, what relationship status you have, and we can use all that data that you have maintained, not the corporate machine, to target you better on Facebook when you have liked the page of that particular organization, and you come there and you get a personalized marketing campaign. We have tools to do that. That means you're tapping into the knowledge that you are maintaining, or the data that you are maintaining about yourself, and that you're willing to share to get a better proposition, for example, or maybe not even willing to share because you've forgotten to close it down. And in that sense, that data maintenance is no longer the organization's requirements. It's the organization's duty or, ability to go and tap into that, what is externally available to help deliver a better, more pointed, more personalized message. That's one example, right? Another example is, I'm sure you've heard of this concept of cloud monitoring, right? Cloud monitoring is what organizations are trying to do to understand, okay, what's the sentiment out there about our products, our brands, our organization within the particular regions? Are we going up? Are we going down? If we have huge product issues, what are people actually saying on the web, on Twitter, on Facebook, on the the more social applications about us? And rather than throw 200 people at it that are kind of troll the web, you can use tools to do that. Again, you're gaining market intelligence by the fact that people have gone through the trouble of posting stuff. Now, one individual tweet may not give you an insight into the core of your customer base, but if you start combining 1 million of them or 100,000, and you start seeing, relationships between sales in certain regions and things that are people saying publicly, that's a source of real intelligence or real business intelligence. It doesn't come completely for free, but it's a source of data, a source of insight that you can tap into. And if you don't, you kind of, you run the risk that your competitors are, and you're kind of behind the eight ball. I mentioned cloud monitoring, right? So the ability is not just to high level find out about trends about your products and brands, but what you can also do is start looking for particular individual tweets of a particularly bad nature and pick them up and start solving these issues. I mean, in fact, we had some research. I used some research in my presentation sometimes from, I think it was Ernst & Young, that says that 81% of people expect a tweet to be responded to the same day, right? However, in about 80% of the cases, organizations do not get to your tweet because there's simply too many of them, because most of them have not yet automated a lot of stuff. The fact of the matter is if you have somebody that is, let's say I am a private banking client of Bank X, and I have 2,000 Twitter followers and 3,000 people on my LinkedIn and 500 friends on my Facebook, they probably should respond to me in a different way in my issue on Twitter than they should to somebody who's maybe not even a customer, or is a customer of a savings account and has no followers on any social media, for two reasons. One is I'm a more valuable customer to them, and the whole concept of lifetime value is not just a transactional bit, is also the influence that you can have as a customer with those people that you're connected to, right? However, that doesn't mean that anybody that just goes out on Twitter and starts complaining, you should and is an important customer, you should bend over backwards and bend the organizational rules and give that person a completely different treatment as if they were in the branch or if they were on the phone in the call center, because customers are smart, right? They immediately dig that, and they'll start testing that medium to get the best possible outcome. So what you need to do is you need to go and take that tweet, bring it into your organization, encapsulate that in a case, just like you would like a service request in a call center, for example. Apply things like service level agreements to it. Start keep communicating with that person over Twitter. That person doesn't know anything but Twitter, but you can handle that case with the workflow. You can drop it in, subject matter experts. You can pull other people in. You can solve the problem, and you can track the fact that you've done that for Michel van Woudenberg this week in your corporate system, in your BI system. And if I do this every week, and other people that may be doing it a week, by trapping it like this, not only do you know that Michel van Woudenberg has met Woody at Twitter, you understand my value to the organization, you've handled me in the proper way, but you also start seeing a pattern emerge about what your customers are doing with you over these channels and how you potentially need to change, maybe your customer service channels, or maybe need to do strategy, or, maybe some of the ways that you handle these kinds of cases. So you need to put structure around it. You need to bring it into the overall customer strategy, and you need to make sure that it's supported by the systems. And that a lot of customers have is that they have money, but they don't have time. And those organizations that can make it easier for them to do business with them, especially in saving time, gain the upper hand. There's this telco, which I can't name, but there's this telco that, apart from doing the normal stuff with loyalty, i.e., you get points for spending money with them and some of their partners, one of the things they do is they focus specifically on a particular product set. And if you buy more of that product set, which is international dialing, which for them is a high margin product, they actually give a separate currency. So you accrue points, let's say point X, through the normal stuff, but then when you do this international dialing, you accrue point Y, and point Y is actually service points. And you can actually, as a customer, you can use these service points to access different service channels that are quicker. So instead of, for example, instead of waiting in a line on a call center, you basically click a priority channel button. It subtracts some of your service points, but you can connect it to somebody straight away. You don't have to wait 10 minutes in a line, right? Which is very high value to the customer because it saves them 10 minutes in their day. They don't have to listen to, mind-bending music or whatever it is that you do on those IVR. They get access to that thing, and it's of relatively small cost. The way most loyalty programs work is, or let's say, loyalty programs work when, as a company, you can offer a product or a reward that is of small incremental cost to you, but of high incremental value to the customer themselves, to the loyalty member, right? That's why everybody wants to be part of an airline loyalty scheme, because airline seats, especially empty ones, when they fly, they're worth zero, right? The incremental cost of that is almost nothing. However, in a consumer's eye, it's worth a lot because they compare it to what they normally have to pay. So in that sense, this telco has taken the concept of loyalty and applied it to what is really valuable for our international dialing business people time. How can we translate what they do for us, which is deliver high margin calls, into a benefit for them? And that's through that example I just gave. One of the things that I've been talking about a lot in the last couple of months is this concept of customer experience. I started at the beginning a little bit, right? And I want to just highlight what it actually means, because I think it's something that's probably maybe not yet as prevalent in Pakistan, especially when you mention things like, people having access to technology, etc. But as not so much mobile penetration, but smartphone penetration will go up from where it is today, and as more people get internet access, the proliferation of channels that a company uses to address their customer needs gets bigger and bigger. That goes faster and faster, and a lot of customers are struggling with the experience that a lot of organizations give them right there, which is that this disconnectedness between all these various channels and as they interact with the company. Customers more and more expect that if they, for example, start a dialogue online and they have questions and they go to a call center, that that's seamless and people understand what they've been doing. And if they then go online social, that again, that this whoever is handling their issue on Twitter understands what they've been doing in other channels. And then again, if they pick it up in the store, that the store actually knows them as a customer, etc., etc. So this idea of cross-channel orchestration and the ability to do that seamlessly as an organization to deliver against that customer experience is getting more and more important. We've been seeing it for the last sort of 2.5 years in the more advanced, more mature markets, where competing for the customer dollar really is driven by that customer experience thing. And I think it will be coming to Pakistan sooner rather than later.